What it do, YouTube, man? It is your boy Charlotte back from the South. And today, we are going to be checking out the greatest NBA teams of all time, tier list 1, man. If y'all guys are new to the channel, man, do me a favor, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on. If you just like basketball content or you just like to laugh, man, this is the place to be. So go ahead and hit that subscribe. But let's go ahead and get into this one and see exactly what's going on.
NBA fans spend the majority of our time judging players, ranking them. What we don't have enough of are team rankings. So your boy is here to save the day and give a completely subjective opinion on who the greatest teams of all time are.
Okay.
So y'all know me.
Now,
I'm all about.
Now, my question is, are you gonna go off of like actual records, or are you gonna go off of paper? That's what we'll call it. Because some teams look great on paper. Like, think about it. That OKC team with KD and Westbrook and Harden, it looks crazy on paper. To think that they were ever on the same team is crazy to think about it. But they weren't good. Or let's go with the Blazers. What was that, 99, 98 Blazers? With Scotty, Charles Barkley, and Clyde. Like, they looked amazing on paper. But were they really that good? You get what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff that we got to think of. So I don't know if you go on paper or actually
From my research, there are no ways to possibly metricize every NBA team of all time to compare them. Thus why this is an opinion-based video. Anyhow, to incorporate some sort of statistical addition to this, I'm going to have 3 main ways to judge these teams. The first being regular season success. This branches off into regular season net rating, which is the team's points produced per 100 possessions minus the team's points allowed per 100 possessions. The second is the exact same thing, except for the playoffs. The third is basically my opinion on the roster. I split it up into 3 parts: star power, depth, and coaching. I'm sure all you guys can figure out what those are.
All right, so I kind of got a drift of how he's going to do this. He's going to base it off, win share record, and then he's going to base it off of players on the team, and then, postseason, and then, stuff like that. So we kind of,
Although this should be taken with a grain of salt, I'm going to be combining all of the factors into one number. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
All right, here we go. Hey, Pat Bev. Hey! Dennis Rodman, baby. Oh my God. Called him lacking. Yes, sir. Jordan. DeAndre on him. Oh, that's part of the video. My fault. Okay. Bro, okay. Alright. Make sure y'all go subscribe to this channel. I will link the video down in the description. I forgot to even say that at the beginning. We are going to do that, though.
So the first team we have on this list is the 1949-1950 Minneapolis Lakers. And as you can tell, not every single team is on here. To make this simple for everyone, I just made it so that if you didn't win a championship, then you don't get in. And I didn't add every single championship team because, well, that just...
that shortens the pool a whole lot, because that's when... You remember when I was talking about paper? Because a lot of teams look good on paper. Like the Brooklyn Nets look good on paper, but why should they be in there if they've never won a championship? Like stuff like that. Like, I get it.
A lot of teams, and especially the 60 Celtics, I don't want 11 60 Celtics teams on here, so I just narrowed it down to the best. And of course, you're not going to see the 2015-2016 Warriors because obviously they choked, and even though they had a historical regular season run, they didn't win the NBA championship. So just to make things simple, like I said, I am not adding them. In any case, we do have the 1949-1950 Minneapolis Lakers, and I'm going to put them in the high-tier championship teams. The 1949-1950 Minneapolis Lakers, this was of course the George Mikan era. And this dynasty had more talented rosters and more deep rosters, but I just feel like this one played the best together. They won by an average of 8.4 points inside the regular season and 9.1 points inside the playoffs, which is really, really good. They went 51-17 inside the regular season, which is a 75 win percentage. And then they went 11-2 inside the playoffs, 1-0 in the first, 2-0 in the second, 2-0 in the third, 2-0 in the fourth, and 4-2 inside the finals.
Okay.
So although this team was absolutely amazing,
coaching,
it really was just not a deep
three.
team at
Okay.
all whatsoever.
Star
It was really
power,
only
good.
3 guys that were carrying the load, being George Mikan, Jim Pollard, and Vern Mikkelsen. So because of that, and because this team just isn't as good as most of the other teams in this list,
George
I'm going
Mikan
to
got
put
some
them
decent numbers. 43 from the field goal. Okay. Free throws 8 out of 10. Okay, that's 90%. What? Why is this so? Wait, am I tripping? Free throws attempt. Free throws. Oh, so that's in total. Okay, my fault. I read that all wrong. Okay.
inside the high-tier championship caliber teams. The 1961-1962 Boston Celtics. Sub-GOAT championship teams.
Let's see.
So this was the franchise's
with
fifth
Billy.
NBA championship, so it was on the first side of the 11 that, of course, Bill Russell won. And this is, of course, when they still had Bob Cousy and guys like Sam Jones and Tom Heinsohn and Tom Sanders.
Coaching,
were still not in
yeah.
their
I was going
prime.
to say, you got to get coaching
This
to
team was
10.
immensely deep, and they won by 7 inside the regular season and 4.8 inside the playoffs. And while those numbers aren't absolutely heart-wrenching, this team was definitely known as more of a clutch team, and they always got it done, judging by the 60-20 regular season record. We all know the star power was good. We all know the depth was absolutely amazing on those Celtics teams. I'm talking about every single one. And of course, they had Red Auerbach as their coach, which is a 10 out of 10 coach in my opinion.
Yeah.
Next up is the 1963-1964 Boston Celtics, elite championship team. This was kind of the transition period for the Celtics dynasty, although they were still winning championships, so I don't know if you want to call it that. But, Bob Cousy, he had retired at this point, and the reins were kind of being given to guys like Sam Jones, Tom Heinsohn, Tom Sanders, and Casey Jones. And then, of course, you still got Bill Russell, who was along for the whole
Casey
ride.
Jones was actually
Next,
a
of
great
course, is the
player in my
1965
book.
Boston Celtics.
I've always liked Casey Jones. I mean, I don't think he's like the greatest or a great, but dude, as a player, as somebody who's a student of the game, Casey Jones was he was well-rounded in his aspect, and that's what I liked. You don't need to be the best player on the team as long as you can allow the best player to still be a best player and get yours. That's what a role player. Sometimes you need a good role player, and that's what KC was,
This was the prime of that dynasty. This is their absolute best. They were amazing. GOAT championship team. This is a team that had a 6.9 net rating inside the regular season and won by an average of 7 points inside the playoffs. They went 62-18 in the regular season and 8-4 inside the playoffs. And this is a team that, of course, had amazing depth, of course, had amazing star power, and of course, had debatably the best coach to ever step on the floor. Now, 1965-1966, this is the final Bill Russell-led Celtics team, and this is when the team started to, go downhill a little bit, as debatably their best scorer obviously left the roster, and that left a big hole in them. However, still an elite championship team. That team could beat almost every single team on this list.
Okay.
Next up is the 1966-1967 Philadelphia 76ers. And although this is probably going to be the most controversial pick on this entire list that I've made, GOAT championship team. This team was absolutely nothing short of stacked. Of course, they had Wilt Chamberlain, who at this point was worrying more about winning, and of course it paid off as they won the NBA championship. Of course, they had Hall Greer, Chet Walker, Luke Jackson, Wally Jones, Larry Costello, and of course Billy Cunningham.
That one is controversial.
This team was absolutely insane. They went 68-13 in the regular season, 11-4 in the playoffs. It was 3-1 in the first round versus the Royals, 4-1.
I don't know if I would have gave it. I don't know if I would have gave it 1. I mean, GOAT status.
In the second round versus
I don't
the
know.
Celtics.
That was a little difficult.
4-1, insane, and 4-2 in the finals versus the Warriors. This is the team that had good depth, nothing amazing, but their star power was almost unmatched. So although that's a debatable pick, I am 100% sticking with it.
Wilt Chamberlain had 24 points a game.
If you've made it this far into the video, thank you. You deserve a break, because there ain't nothing at stake. You like my rhymes? Probably not. Don't worry, me neither.
Let's get back to it.
So,
Let's get back
the
to it.
sub-GOAT championship teams, but I just don't feel like they're at that point. And when I looked at that entire list or that entire rank, I just felt like this team couldn't compare to those. So,
Okay.
elite championship team. Now that is not a knock at them in the slightest. This team is absolutely amazing, that's why I put them in the third highest tier, but this team didn't exactly blow out every single other team inside the league.
Yeah.
This team had guys like Walt Frazier, obviously Willis Reed, Dick Barnett, Dave DeBusschere, and Bill Bradley, but their depth wasn't anything outstanding, and they really didn't dominate inside the playoffs despite their 16-22 record. Nevertheless, an all-time great team, that is why they're on this list.
Okay.
Next up, the 1970-1971 Milwaukee Bucks. This is a very, very, very confusing team, and I'll show you why in a
Now, I would say elite. If he goes higher than elite, I don't know. Okay, so the reason why I say that with the Milwaukee Bucks was great. I don't think they had the depth. The coaching was decent. We'll give that about an 8. Star power, really, there was not too much star power. But what they had was camaraderie. It was like a team. They had a star. They had decent players. But when it compares to other teams, you're like, okay, that team didn't have the wilts and the stuff like that. So it's crazy to, I don't know. If he goes above elite, I have to hear him out. But I would go only elite championship.
A second, but sub-GOAT championship team. Now, on paper, this team doesn't exactly jump out to you.
Yeah, that's what. Of course, they had exactly what I'm saying. Look, depth was not there. Star power, you had. Oh, fuck! I forgot Kareem was on that team. The only person I was thinking about was him. That's why. Oh, that's why. Okay, that's my fault. He's right. That's my fault. I freaking totally forgot that Kareem was on that team. Like, I completely forgot Kareem was on that team. Dang, I forgot Kareem was on that team.
They had Oscar.
How could I forget that? Yeah. I was like, Oscar Robbins, that's all you had.
This was a good team.
Damn, that's sad.
But
I look like
the
an
way
idiot.
that they played, this one season, this is a one championship dynasty. Well, it's not even a dynasty, I guess, in that case, but you know what I'm talking about. What I'm trying to say is this team was a one-hit wonder, and I don't mean that lightly. This was a one-hit wonder. This team had 10.8 net rating inside the regular season, and they won by 14.5 points inside the playoffs. This team steamrolled through the playoffs, 16-2, 4-1 in the first round, 4-1 in the second round,
was on that team.
and 4-0 inside the finals versus the Baltimore
All I thought
Bolts.
was Oscar Robbins.
There was absolutely no stopping this team. I don't
Hey,
care
Jeff
how
Webb,
stacked
okay.
this team was on paper. This team, in my opinion, is a sub-GOAT championship team. Next up, the 1971-1972 Los Angeles Lakers, and this was the year after the 70-71 Bucks won the championship, obviously because of the year. Sub-GOAT championship team. This team had a 10.5 net rating inside the regular season. They didn't blow out teams in the playoffs. They only won by an average of 3.2 points, but they did win the championship.
I would say
12-3 inside the playoffs.
I would say that they had a better depth chart. So I mean, I wouldn't go 6. I'd probably go 7 or 8. But they did have a decent depth chart. It just wasn't crazy.
And obviously, if you don't know, this is the season that Elgin Baylor retired halfway through, and of course, they won their first and only championship in the 70s. Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Jim McMillan, Gail Goodrich, and Happy Hairston. This is a good-ass team.
That's what I'm saying.
Now for the second New York Knicks team, and the only other New York Knicks team on this list is obviously the 72-73 New York Knicks.
I don't know
the exact same as the 69-70 New York Knicks. Willis Reed was on his downturn, but they of course got Earl Monroe to kind of fill that void. And this team was a very, very good
I don't remember
team,
that
just
team.
like the previous
I'm not gonna lie.
team
Dick Burnett. Oh,
now
Phil
for
Jackson.
the 1973-1974
Philly was on there.
Boston.
What? Phil was on that team? Phil Jackson was on that team? So Phil Jackson got, is this the, hey, before I sound like, is this the exact same Phil Jackson I'm thinking of? Because if so, Phil got more than 10? I mean, more than 11? I gotta look that up. Because if that's the right Phil.
Now for the 1973-1974 Boston Celtics. Now, there was a lot of parity in the 70s. I think we can notice that by this list. And of course, if you do know the NBA quite well, then you would know that there were a lot of different teams that won inside the 70s. It wasn't just dominated by 2 or 3 teams. So, in that case, ultra high tier championship team for this team. They were good, but they were definitely, I don't want to say underdogs. Actually, I do want to say underdogs. They weren't exactly favored to win it.
JoJo White.
They didn't have an absolutely stacked roster. They didn't do...
Hey. Like, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. JoJo White. When I first saw JoJo White, it was, I want to say it was like 15, 16. It was when Glory Road came out. So, you know, like, I was a little nostalgic. I love the movie. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go check out these people and, you know, see what players made it to the league. JoJo White, hey, brother could cook. Oh, yes. JoJo White was one of those players I was like, oh, okay. So, I mean,
insane
I like that.
The regular season or anything, but a very, very good team nonetheless. And speaking of parity, we have the 1978-1979 Seattle Supersonics, most commonly known as the only real team to win without a superstar. This team they were very well rounded, but I mean, compared to all the other teams in this list, besides obviously the 49.
Okay, but then to me, that makes me feel like, why would you consider the Sonics? I feel like having a higher depth in the coaching should put you higher than teams with actual superstars. Because if you don't have a superstar and you go ahead and you make the playoffs and you win without a superstar while everybody else has a superstar, that championship kind of weighs a little bit more than the one with the with superstars. You get what I'm saying? Because it's like, y'all really had to come together as a team. That's why when I think about the Spurs, I'm like, that's why the Spurs are so freaking good. That's why people love the Spurs, is because they don't never really have a main superstar. It's a lot of little pieces together that win championships. And that's what I'm like, okay, that's what I like. But, I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Lakers, I just don't feel like they're at that point. However, they are still a high-tier championship team. This was an absolutely outstanding team for those of you who didn't know about them. Now for the 79-80 Los Angeles Lakers, this is going to be the first sub-elite championship team. This is, of course, Magic Johnson's rookie season. This was the start of that dynasty. So they weren't exactly stacked at this point, but they did have Jamal Wilkes at that point, and Kareem was closer to his prime at this point as well. And another noteworthy thing to add, which a lot of you might know of, is Kareem was injured inside that final game of the final series, and that made this team that much better that they were able to pull through without their best player. Now for the 1980-1981 Boston Celtics, very similar case to the 1979-1980 Los Angeles Lakers. These two teams, as you know, would go head-to-head basically all throughout the 80s. But this team was a step below the 79-80 Lakers. They're an ultra-high tier championship team. This team is mostly known for their depth.
A young Larry Bird. You got Parrish. You still got, what's that, the redhead dude? I can't think of his name right now. You got what? And you gonna put...
They didn't have a ton of stars, as either their future stars, Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, they were kind of up and coming, and they had veterans like Tiny Archibald.
Look at this. You got Robert Parrish. Okay, boom. Instant all-star. Kevin McHale. I mean, I guess you can understand why Kevin McHale wasn't there. Larry Bird, okay? Maxwell. Come on, bro. Carr. Where's he at? Is he not on this team? I guess he wasn't. I guess he was on another year with the Celtics. Yeah, but come on, just with that alone, that's 4. I mean, even if you take Kevin McHale off, you still got Robert Parrish and Larry Bird in the starting 5 that's cooking. And Ford. Like, I don't know.
And well, Robert Parrish was the only guy really in his prime in this team. But this team was obviously not at its peak yet, but they were a very, very good
21. 21. Won't you do something for me? Yeah.
I'm going to cut off part 1 of this video right there.
All right, man, that is the end of this video, man. If y'all guys did enjoy this, make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on. And go ahead and get ready, because part 2 is right behind it. You feel what I'm saying? But, man, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.